Hi everyone, today we're going to talk about food webs. So don't forget, you can take a moment to pause the video at any time to catch up, okay? So today you're going to write your title here in your heading, food webs. Your TEKS 7.5c, diagram the flow of energy through living systems. Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to write is food webs are many food chains interconnected in an ecosystem. Okay, so let's think about ecosystems. You can have a desert, a forest, marine, the ocean, coral reef, freshwater, a pond. There are many ecosystems out there, okay? So let's go ahead and now I want you to glue your little paper here. I wrote mine out because I forgot my paper at school. So make sure you glue yours here, okay? So let's talk about all these letters. Okay, so first off, let's talk about A, okay? Here's A here. It's at the bottom, okay? A is a producer. How do I know that? Because A is a producer and it's a plant. But you don't see any arrows pointing to A. So therefore, I know that's a plant, okay? Remember, producers, plants get their energy from the sun, okay? So we know that's a plant because we don't see any arrows pointing to it. Okay, so let's look at B and C, okay? How do I know? So B and C are primary consumers, okay? That looks weird, so I'm gonna fix that. B and C are primary consumers. Okay, primary consumers are herbivores. They eat plants only, okay? So when I look at B and C, I know I can see that they're getting their energy from A, which is a plant, okay? Now let's look at D, okay? D gets its energy from A, which is a plant, but also D is getting its energy from a herbivore. So therefore, D is a secondary consumer, okay? Secondary consumers can be omnivores. Omnivores are organisms that eat plants and animals. Humans are omnivores. Okay, now let's look at E and F. Okay, so E and F are not getting their energy from plants because there's no arrows pointing to E and F. So let's look at E first, okay? E gets its energy from D, okay? And F only gets its energy from C. So if D and C are animals, they're consumers, that means that E and F are going to be also secondary consumers, okay? Because they still have arrows. If you can look here, you can see that they have arrows pointing away from them, so they're not the apex predators. Okay, so they're secondary consumers. Therefore, since they do not eat plants, they are carnivores. They eat meat only, okay? Okay, so now let's look at G. Do you notice that G has no arrows pointing away from it? So therefore, G is the tertiary consumer, okay? Tertiary means the top carnivore. this guy or girl is the apex predator. Okay. Apex predator means the top carnivore. Okay. They only eat meat. Okay. So they're top carnivore. Okay. So what do the arrows mean? Okay, y'all should, a lot of y'all already know this, but let's just have a refresh. The arrows point in the direction that energy flows. Okay, so I want you guys to think about this for a minute, and we're gonna practice a couple of activities and worksheets through Canvas, so that way this will make more sense. Okay, so take a moment, look at it. Okay. Ooh, I forgot something actually. Don't take a moment for a second. Okay, let's talk about food chains for a second. Okay, now when you have a food chain, you must have a producer, you must have a consumer, okay, whether that's primary or secondary consumer, and also a top carnivore. Okay, so let's go ahead and diagram a food chain here, right here. You can take a highlighter, a colored pencil. I'm going to take my pen, and hopefully you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna start with A, and I'm gonna only circle my food chain. Okay, so here's A. This is the primary, this is the producer, this is the plant. Okay, how do I know it's a plant? Because there's no arrows pointing to it, okay? So I'm gonna circle that. Now, this plant is gonna give its energy to this primary consumer, okay? This primary consumer gives its energy to this secondary consumer, and then this secondary consumer gives its energy to the tertiary consumer, the apex predator. Okay, so this is a food chain here. Okay, as you can see, this is a food chain. You can make food chains here or here. Okay, so remember that food webs are many food chains interconnected in an ecosystem. So therefore, you can conclude that food chains and food webs, all the organisms in food chains and food webs all depend upon each other. This is how all organisms are interconnected. We all depend on each other, and everything matters in ecosystem unless they're invasive species. Okay, so let me show you guys my map, and go ahead and start your activities. Okay, practicing food webs and food chains. Okay, have a good day. Goodbye.